What's going on, everybody? Chadwick.cervinski here. Welcome back to the channel. If you're first time here, please consider subscribing. Focus on RC, long range, TBS, crossfire, all that kind of fun stuff, and a little bit of this and that every now and then. What we're here to talk about today is the Multicopter Builders MB Epic 229 V2. It's his 5.5 version of his very popular 262 6-inch frame. I talk about it a lot. I'm a big fan and supporter of Richard's because he's one of those guys that really is just out there to make sure that we all have a good time running his shop, keeping us with good stuff, and honestly trying to keep me a little honest by going back to the roots of just following a process that works and not trying to reinvent the wheel. I've been a huge user of his Primo motors. They are on all of my builds, pretty much everything from reverb to protons, all that stuff. The 2207 2450s, pretty popular on 4S, 5S, 5-inch, 5.5-inch, 6-inch. I've flown them on everything, and it looks like everybody else has too. So before I got too far, I just want to kind of go into the frame here. I've been starting the assembly. You can see I have this awesome custom colored captain seat, and this is, of course, if you don't know, what's going to go on the front. It's going to hold the GoPro. The camera's going to go up here. The Mortal T is going to go up there, and this configuration keeps your props out of view, gives you great HD video, and from what I hear from everybody that owns this, is it kind of creates a different, better type of flying experience, because most of us are used to our FPV cameras being down low versus being up a little bit higher. Well, having the GoPro there and having the camera, the FPV camera up here, actually kind of creates a little bit better of a centering of your look whenever you're flying and everything. So I'm pretty excited to check that all out. We'll go over the components that are going inside this as we go through the build, but the first thing I've been doing is just working on the frame. So obviously you get every piece of hardware and stuff that you need. This is the usual Multicopter Builders type of stuff with the foam core and the actual sandwich out there on the outside. It's got an X-frame bottom plate with press fit nuts that goes through. Let's see, you get 6 press fit nuts with the frame on the 5-inch here, and Richard recommends to use those 6 back here in the back where you will actually need them, because in the front you will have the captain's seat up here, and that would basically, you have standoffs that you're screwing into and everything else like that. Kind of got ahead of myself before I spoke with him, so I actually have a few more in there, but it's no big deal. They're going to work out. I just used some longer screws and everything, so that's going to work out just fine. So in the back here, press nut on the bottoms, all of them, and then of course we have our screws going through into those, and then in the front just press nuts here on the outside, and that is it. So I have 2 screws coming up in here that will screw in to the standoffs that are in the back of the captain's seat, and then I used 4 bolts right here. I used M3s just because it's all that I have, and those actually are going through the frame itself and just going on to our usual, you know, type of bobbin deal right there. So no problem with that. All 4 going through there. The flight controller sits on there very nice and everything, and this thing is like wicked solid. It's gonna be so awesome, that is for sure. So now that I've got the frame done and kind of went over a few little things that I ran into, I am going to go ahead and start laying out some components and mounting some motors and some ESCs and all that good stuff. I am usually using some individual ESCs just because I run the SPEEDX HV 30 amps on a lot of my builds, and he definitely still recommends them. You know, D-Shot 600 and BL Heli S is still really the benchmark. BL Heli 32 is coming up, but then you have to get into things like Betaflight 3.3, which, you know, is great, but what a lot of us mid-range and long-range guys have noticed is that for the smooth video that we want, we kind of have to stick around that 3.2 level of Betaflight. That seems to be what is getting us the best type of footage. Now, of course, that's going to change over time because we're going to want to do things like GPS and everything like that, which I had a GPS on the 6-inch Proton that I stole a lot of these parts from to build this with. But you know, the 3.4 Betaflight stuff that's being tested right now with the home arrow, with the home arrow and the rescue feature and all that stuff is definitely coming along. But I don't have I don't really have an environment where I just kind of lose my quad. I never really fly to a limit as far as what my video range is, so gonna just run this without the GPS for now, even though I do love having the coordinates. I don't know, maybe I'll change my mind and we'll put it on there. We'll see. So anyway, get on with the build here. So I'm actually getting ready to mount the last motor here, and just wanted to show you, use my Permatex gel that I have. It's linked down below in an affiliate link. I love this kind of Loctite because you can just put it everywhere and it just stays there. And usually you see people put it on your screws, and then you stick your screws up through the frame, and then you don't even end up getting any in the holes. So I actually just dab mine on top of these motor mounts here and kind of run it through a little bit, and you can clean it up and everything like that if you want to. It's no big deal. One thing that I have noticed about this frame, which actually I pretty much appreciate, is we've got a full open hole pattern there. It's not 16 by 16 or 19 by 16 and all that kind of stuff. So it makes mounting motors just a lot easier. It's just the little things that after you build a few quads, you kind of start noticing that like just annoy you. And that is definitely something that has been annoying me lately, is these different bolt patterns and trying to get them all matched up and everything like that when you're building. It just makes for things for a little bit more complicated, that's for sure. There's always one that doesn't go in. Okay, so the motors and ESCs are all mounted up here, and what we have here for the flight controller is we're going to be using a Moto Labs Tempest F4, and Richard recommended this. He runs it on his rigs. And, you know, it's a little older technology, but, you know, it'll work with any firmware that's out there. The layout isn't too bad. But the thing that's great about it is I've been working with iNav a lot lately, and like the Omnibus F4 type of flight controller uses these kind of connectors that are pre-made and everything like that. And, of course, Flight 1 is doing that as well now. So I have already a cable that goes directly into my TBS Unify HV. I've got my Crossfire cable here, and then actually this is the Crossfire, and this is a camera right here as well. So everything's just going to plug in and be really nice, easy to switch out if we have any problems. So I've got the ESC pads tinned up and the signals pads tinned up. So going to go ahead and get this all installed. Alright, here we are, maybe an hour and a half to 2 hours later, getting everything just bench tested here and hooked up and make sure everything's worked on some Betaflight settings and all that stuff. Kind of go over some stuff here, got all the ESCs configured, running opposite motor directions like I normally do. All of the plugs worked great. I got the Crossfire hooked up with the one Crossfire cable that it comes with. You just had to reverse a couple pins here on the actual connector to line up the power and grounds and everything with the connector here on the actual flight controller. I pulled out the Fox ear cable that comes with the Moto Labs board, and just plugged in a run cam cable that I had, so that's working great. VTX is working great. Soldered in everything, and everything is pretty much configured and tested, and now I'm just going to go ahead and clean things up here and get things kind of buttoned up and put back together. So we will be right back. Alright, and here we go. This is the finished product. Got most of everything configured, everything installed here, and it's pretty funny. It's a lot lighter than I thought it would be. I thought it would be a little bit heavier. It looks like it's a bigger and heavier, chunkier type of frame from all the pictures, but actually it's not, and there's still just like tons and tons of room in there. If you look, I've got the Unify HV back there, just a single stack there here with the, let me flip it around here, with the Moto board, and the Crossfire is actually just zip tied down underneath right there behind the captain's seat, and the wire just goes right up for the antenna right into there. The run cam plugs in there, so we got the Crossfire plugged into the board right there. We have the Unify and the run cam plugged in right there. Got smart audio working, everything else is working. TPU print back here for the antenna mount going on here with the Triumph to match what's going on up front here with the captain's seat. So everything is awesome. I am super happy and super impressed with the way that this has turned out. We got the Primo 2207 2450s rocking on there. They're ready to go. Got the ESCs all flashed with the current version of BLHES, and we're going to be running D-Shot 600 on this one. So I went through and set up things like my beep and everything like that, just in case I lose it in a cornfield and I don't want to look for it for hours. And yeah, my Mortal T is a little bent there, but this thing really is cool. It really is built around this captain's seat. So definitely going to have to keep an eye on this one and hopefully not lose my GoPro session. Like a lot of us are pretty much in the same frame of mind these days. So I got plenty of straps here that Richard sent for the build. So I'm just gonna go ahead and put one of these through here, and that's pretty much going to be it for the build. All in all, the build went really fast once I got everything going. Just, you know how things go when you're dealing with a new frame, and the single ESCs and all that kind of stuff do eat up a little bit more time, but no problems at all. So come back to the channel here and we'll have some maiden flights and all that good stuff, and let me know if you have any questions. So we'll talk to you later.